Okay, hello everyone. I am the Fractured Filter here with introduce yourself.
J J Hitman 187.
All right, Jay Hitman. Excellent. So here we are. We're starting our first show here, calling it Saturday Night Sith. Whether we keep it Star Wars, but that's kind of the game plan. Um, so why don't you go ahead and do your intro, sir, for what got you into Star Wars and
Oh,
into the expanded universe?
love it. So I actually grew up loving Star Wars majority of my life. My uncle was a huge Star Wars fan, collected all the toys, all the books,
Oh,
and
you're ahead of
him.
me then.
Well, yeah. So him being my godfather, he at a young age actually started giving me his toys and the books and everything. So I've always had this love of Star Wars
Nice.
for as long as I can remember, and then obviously watching the movies. Like I watched them when they were on VHS. I still have the VHS videos. I can
That
remember this was before Ian McDiarmid even played the Emperor. That's how old these VHS
I
are.
wish I had actually gotten some of those early VHSs because I know the first ones that I got were the special edition. So
Yeah,
was
it,
unfortunately, but I remember watching the originals when we rented them from the video store. But
it's
go on.
kind of cool to watch the ones that first came out, and then watch how they over the years have kind of done changes and all this kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, Ian McDiarmid was probably one of the best changes, because the first guy who played the Emperor was just it was not a good character for that.
It was definitely something that needed some touching up afterwards. Yeah.
100%. So yeah, I've but when I say Star Wars, I'm talking about like the original canon, and I this is a hill I'm willing to die on. There's not multiple canons out there. There's
No,
one canon.
yeah, that's
Um,
as I see it. That's or as I've seen around, it's just then becomes George Lucas's canon, and then you have Disney's canon. But
yes,
George Lucas's canon is the gospel, pretty much.
yeah, not my opinion. George Lucas's. So yeah, that's pretty
Okay.
much it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have quite the strong connection. I remember, yeah, being renting the original trilogy back in the day. It definitely. I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of it. It was always really cool. That I, of course, love the dynamics of between Luke and Vader and that whole thing. But I'd say what really kicked me into enjoying Star Wars a whole lot was when we started getting some of the video games on console. The Super Nintendo Super Star Wars was awesome,
Oh,
but 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 then what really like it then opened, that whole journey into a big, grander new world was Shadows of the Empire on the Nintendo 64. Just that game alone, you had a brand new character, Dash Rendar. You're playing through certain areas. You started out on Hoth, so you kind of got that, that ground level of it, of kind of being introduced to the world, and then it just kept going, and you got the new villain, Shizor. That whole thing was awesome, and of course, it had its own soundtrack, which was even better.
for those
And
younger, let's just take a minute for these younger kids that might be listening. If you've not played any of these games that we're referencing, please do a service to
oh
society
yeah,
and yourselves
because
and
there's
go.
there's absolutely every way possible to find those games, play them, and whatever. So
Some of probably the best games out there are the ones that you just mentioned. I
yeah,
remember growing up and playing these games for. I played so long on the Nintendo 64 that I had to turn it off to cool it down, and then blow into the old game to get it
yes,
to play
yes,
again.
yep. So that was that jumping off point, and then as I finally started slowly venturing into, the PC gaming, a friend of mine, I think, if it was, is at a birthday party, brought over uh the Dark Forces, Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. And that's how I got then introduced to who I'm using my avatar of, Kyle Katarn.
Ah,
And that
yes.
was just then also, like, we'll kind of talk about later though, but he was again, like a lot of EU characters, former Imperial stormtroopers, kind of saw some of the darker side of what was going on with them, and was like, time to bail. And then eventually, yeah, he too finds that he is, capable or strong in the Force, and has the whole adventure in Dark Forces too. And then eventually Jedi Academy, which was Jedi Outcast, even better game. It just kept it going. And so, with that, just was my gateway into eventually finding out down the line all the more different characters, different stories that was going on with Star Wars. And then, of course, with even further games that helped bring you into the world, like Star Wars Galaxies, the MMO, which was a blast at the time. Still have a love for it. It's just, although you can't quite revisit it like when it was first in its heyday, but still, that was another thing that just kind of immersed you into the world, from just hanging around other people with the ambiance of you hearing droids, having the music and stuff like that. So those were definitely some of the things that, broke me into the whole Star Wars universe, and what got me more and more into it as time went on. And then, with this whole Disney buyout, it was called, okay,
it's a polite way of saying that.
Yeah, and of course we had Knights of the Old Republic prior to that, but then, it was with all this out going on and them erasing things, I was like, okay, I need to start checking out more content. And then that's when I was like, okay, where do I start? And that was where I just happened to go, you know what? I've heard of these Darth Bane books, so let's start there. I got to check this out. And my God, once I started down checking out those, it was just,
that's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. Just got lost into it. And, here, and then thanks to all that, you and I were talking about it and decided to start doing this stuff. And hey, it all pays off in the end, right?
Your story's a lot more interesting than mine. I mean, I agree with everything you said, and I agree. Like I went down that similar path, but yeah.
Well,
it's a
yeah,
lot better than mine.
For some, like it was like for you, from the beginning, you had people that were like, oh, hey, here's these toys, here's this, here's that. I mean, for myself, it was I was kind of more, I loved it, but at the same time, I was kind of more in the looking at like Godzilla and stuff like that. But as time went along, the passions grew, and just finding out more and more to it that just again expanded your mindset of it. Because also and I don't know if I'm going to be end up pronouncing this correct, the fighting game that they had for Star Wars Masters of Terras Kasai also had a bunch of, that's where they brought in the character Arden Lin, who is a master of this martial arts. And then and then if you played enough of that game, that was how I just found out and learned about Mara Jade. So I mean, it may not have been the books and stuff, but the games were certainly this great introductory to everything. And like I've even talked about with my brother at times, it's like, the great thing about a lot of the old games in particular was that, yes, while they would sometimes make their own new soundtrack, at the same time, they reused all of pretty much John Williams' score that really kept you, at least I think, kept you immersed in the world and what was going on. So that was definitely how I've always felt about it.
100%.
Okay, now with that aside, shall we start talking about the book of Boba Fett?
I'd love nothing more to talk about this ridiculous book, if you can call it a book.
Okay, so like it was, I kind of had to skim through the first episode because I'd already forgotten bits and pieces of it from watching it last week, and I was just kind of like, oh, I better kind of refresh my memory. So I just kind of started it off, and it's still tough. It's still tough. It's still tough for me to see it in the beginning because like they very vaguely show him getting out of the Sarlacc pit with his flamethrower, and it cuts, and then he's getting beat up by Jawas, more or less. Well, not beat up by Jawas. They were scrapping him, and then they finally knock him out again, and then which it was still just kind of like, really, you're gonna have the little Jawas club him like that?
I wasn't aware that Jawas were concerned with stripping for clothing. Usually they're more concerned about stripping for parts. They may have been trying to strip him of his parts. I don't know. It looked like they were just taking his armor, though.
Yeah. I don't know either.
And then we go down to, then the whole... So let's just get your thoughts on this. So what are your thoughts about the Tusken Raiders kind of capturing him and this whole him staying at this camp? And what are your thoughts on that? Because I've got my thoughts on that.
To me, from the get-go, having them take him in any kind of prisoner felt very I'm trying to find the right word, but I don't know if it would be contradictory to what we've generally known about the Sand People or what, but it just felt like the wrong thing that would happen. Like if they found him, it'd either be called they'd ignore him and move on, or they would have popped him and left and just left them to die, or left them to die. It would have been regardless. Just they wouldn't have possibly just messed with him at all. It just would have been moved on or killed him. So to me, I was just kind of like, okay.
Well,
I guess.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about him having to prove? Well, one, let's talk about so when I watched it from beginning to end, like the whole thing is.
So did I. No, I did originally when I first watched the episode. Like I said, I just needed a refresher because I was just like,
I couldn't do it. I was trying to prepare for our podcast. I was like, I should probably rewatch it again. I could not come to terms with watching it again. It was just that painful. So what are your thoughts on him having to? So let's just start here. I kind of got the feeling that he had to prove himself to the Tusken Raiders.
That's what it basically boiled down to. Yes. So that once he but that wasn't until he had done enough of what the salvaging for the little water pods, but then mainly after he defeated the Ray Harryhausen monster. I mean, that wasn't until he did that it was called, okay, now we can have him prove himself to us, and he can maybe become an honorary Sand person or whatever, Tusken, whatever. So that wasn't it just was very. I mean, this is Boba Fett, though. This is Boba Fett, a Mandalorian who, and again, I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there and podcasters out there that know a lot more than I do. But what I do know, this is Boba Fett, a Mandalorian. This is the Mandalorian race. These are the people that went toe to toe with freaking Revan and Malik. And you're telling me that? Well, remember, this is centuries removed since then. They've been drastically, changed.
It's very true. But with that, I mean, still, like these guys, pride themselves on combat. In combat. Yeah. I mean, these guys rode basilisks from the freaking outer space, to a planet to, ultimately, just eviscerate everybody. And then he's got to take fighting.
What's a continent or two turned to glass, right? I mean, come on.
Right? I mean, but taking fighting lessons from a test and then just getting beat with a stick.
Yeah. They.
So what are your thoughts on that?
It's not. God.
Are you telling me that the Tusken Raiders? And I'm not saying these guys can't fight. They're a primitive race, and there's, they've got to be able to protect themselves on Tatooine. But against a Mandalorian like this guy, I think you referenced this a couple days ago. This is
Now,
Vader shook in his boots when he went
it,
up against Boba.
there wasn't so much. I mean, they definitely had an understanding, I would
Yeah.
say, and they had, I think, a respect for one another. But that's kind of the thing, yeah. And I think that's what when they had him get his butt kicked in that first episode. I think they were trying to play it off from him just escaping the Sarlacc, and even that. But then afterwards, he's still failing to combat the female Tusken that he's up against, and
Right.
even that is just pretty silly, just for the fact that he's a long time hardened mercenary. He knows he's a tactical. Last I knew, he was. I don't know if it was a tactical genius, but I mean, he wasn't anybody to mess with.
I mean, the Mandalorians are known for taking out Jedi, so I mean, you've got to be pretty
well. And that was even the thing. Like Boba, in particular, within the further, continuity of the EU, was known to be able to fight Jedi. And I mean, it's not unheard of.
Yeah,
it's not unheard of, because they even had that slightly addressed with, like, Knights of the Old Republic 2. You had Atten, who talked about how he would have his mind on Pazak to kind of throw them off. And I don't recall the exact details.
Just a genius.
How he did it, but he knew how to. He knew their fighting styles. He knew just kind of what made their compassion and stuff like that. So he knew to exploit those sort of things in order to take him out. So when he's up against this Tusken at any point, even after he's been he's kind of healed and everything, it still seems pretty silly that he just doesn't have the prowess to do anything, really.
Right. Well, we should also give and I'm sure there's a way to leave comments. So those of you that are listening or will be listening, if we are saying anything that maybe not is 100% canon, please go down and put in the comments. But I was doing a little research in regards to the Tusken Raiders, and this race. There's a lot of people saying that there's some that aren't violent as others, and some are a little bit more welcoming and all this and that. But I just remember growing up as a kid watching episode 4. These sand people, Tuskens, were I just remember just being afraid because these guys were like savages. They're like, I don't want to mess with them.
Absolutely. Well, that was definitely what is lent to the extended universe that helps kind of flesh them out.
Right.
Did you ever go through the Kenobi book?
I did not. No.
So the Kenobi book does kind of help do some fleshing out of the Tusken Raiders. And I mean, even in Knights of the Old Republic 1, you kind of had that interaction with Revan once you got HK to translate. But in the Kenobi book, they do go into there being different tribes, different some that are trying to rebuild a little better after the whole especially if you go through the episode, the Star Wars episode 2 book, they talk about in the beginning of that, how the moisture farmers and stuff were having to fight off these wave of Tuskens that kept attacking their settlements and stuff like that. So they were damaged from that. And then the Tuskens, of course, because of taking Shmi Skywalker and then bringing about Anakin's wrath upon them, they suffered a lot more deaths there. So they were definitely hurting. And then in the book, they, like I said, it kind of goes into some of what they're trying to do, how they're trying to resalvage their people in any way possible, almost. Well, not any way possible, but just trying to essentially stay alive and get a strong enough leadership to either recombine or just combine the tribes together so they have a little more of a fighting chance.
Right.
So, but the thing was that they never really, even in that book, they didn't really like ever bending the knee to using technology
Right.
They were strictly about using their banthas,
Right.
and losing one was
it
a
was,
big
they had
hit to them,
a
which
sacred bond
is
between them, and
and that's kind of the funny thing when we get to episode 2, how it almost seems so many of them are expendable, but
well, that would not be a thing. So like
no,
my research I was doing is like, so there's a sacred bond between the Tusken Raider, the Sand People, and that Bantha. And when a Tusken Raider would die, I was reading that the Bantha would actually kill itself out of grief for its, for lack of better terms, not try to be disrespectful, but its owner. And
right.
so just,
Well,
and then
that's
episode
what it
2, which
is.
we'll get to, is just a bunch of just linguistic just nonsense. But so, okay, so we covered the Tusken part, and then the Tusken Raider, that whole thing, and then
Right,
something
the
down
intro, and then it
yeah,
basically kicks over to
him and a
Jabba, not Jabba, sorry,
what
Boba. Yeah, Boba's in his back to bed.
back to bed. I was gonna
But
say, wasn't really a tank.
it's a back to tank,
He
but
looked like
I'm
more
just,
looked like Scuba Steve to me.
but he's in his little back to tank, which he now seems to be needing,
Which is very
frequently.
interesting because like the Bacta, which we won't go. I mean, I'm such a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I could even tell you like the actual company that made Bacta or discovered Bacta, but Bacta was used for like regenerative purposes, right? Like when Luke got when he battled the brain fart on Hoth. When he battled the creature, I can't think. I'm having a brain fart, but when he battled it and got hurt, like and all that, they put him in a tank because he was cut up.
when he's on Hoth, and the
Yeah,
Wampa,
but
got him.
yeah, but
The
it doesn't look
Wampa.
like Boba. Like he looked fine. So why is he using the back to bed?
Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be
For old
lingering.
people, do I need one?
I don't know if it's supposed to be lingering after effect from being in the Sarlacc pit for however long he was.
Yeah.
Since when he first was in there, he goes right for the stormtrooper that was out of nowhere, and
we forgot to talk about that.
took the I'm guessing the air hose from the helmet and then plugged it into his own.
Yeah,
which is off. Even though there's probably completely different gear, it's amazing that his Mandalorian helmet is able to plug right up to a stormtrooper helmet. But hey, what would I know?
Well, I mean, that's what it appears to be like in the first couple minutes of the first episode. But then that later down, we'll talk about what actually his helmet looked like from the inside. There was leather in it, which was very interesting.
Even though, he's basically got like he's supposed to have like targeting computers and
Yeah,
stuff like
all
that
this
within the helmet and stuff like that. It just seemed silly too that once he gets all that coin thrown in there, it's like, dude, aren't you a little concerned you're gonna mess up anything?
Yeah, it looked like it was just looked like a World War II helmet inside.
Something. I don't. It didn't look
very. So can we just talk? I know I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but like the Sarlacc pit, right? So like in canon, you were bringing this up earlier that like you're ingested in this thing for like 1,000 years, right?
It has some sort of crazy gestation period,
right?
It's supposed to.
I think even C-3PO is translating what Jabba is saying in Return of the Jedi. God bless Jabba, rest his soul. Still miss him. But like he's in this pit, but in canon, like in the books, and you read the book. I haven't had the chance to read it yet, but wasn't it connected to caves, and that's how he originally got out? Like you just didn't just climb out of this thing. Like if that was the case, then I don't think it would be as scary as everybody said it was. So like, what are your thoughts on him just crawling out of it?
Just crawling out of it, it just comes off as a little bit on the lazy side. Like I think I would have thought there would have been more to it than just him crawling out. Like I don't know. But the thing was, like I said, it shows him using his flamethrower. But yes, R.I.P. Jabba. But it just it would have been nice to see him blast using his jetpack at all to blast out of there or something, anything.
My
His
thought on it
rocket,
is like,
he has rockets. Come on.
I mean, 100%. Like my frustration is like, for those who, I can be careful, but I'm just going to speak blatantly. You know,
Go
those
for it.
who follow Disney and believe that Disney is now the true canon or the new canon, like, wouldn't it make sense for Disney to maybe follow, I don't know, the original canon, that story and how he got out? Like, if you're wanting to bridge the gap between like I will say, the old school people like us that follow true canon, and you have
Right.
Disney who claims to be this new canon. If you're solely concerned about just creating this new story to appease your new fans, but don't worry about, those of us that are kind of like the loyalists, like, well, good luck, because there's more of us than you. But like, I guess I just don't understand. Like, it would make more sense to follow canon so everybody, could understand it. But like, to basically have canon that says like he crawled out of, he got out of the Sarlacc pit by using the caves and the cave system that was, connected to, versus him just crawling out, like, that makes no sense.
Well, and
And
that's
it's
what's
very lazy.
well, that's what I find rather funny, considering how much Dave Filoni loves digging through and trying to salvage any piece of the EU to kind of claim as his own ideas.
Right.
He didn't dig into that book at the beginning of that book at all to use that as the visual piece that would have been probably really great to actually see and have him, actually getting out, or at least showing him getting out proper, instead of just kind of flamethrower, then on the ground getting salvaged by Jawas.
Yeah. There's so many things. And again, people that listen, oh, you're just biased because you're old school and you're loyal. Like, I get that point, but like, you have to understand, like, following canon and then watching this show, like, there's not a lot of it that follows canon, in my opinion.
It's just about maintaining a level of consistency with your story. That's all.
Right.
Which even though the whole point of, erasing the expanded universe and dubbing it Legends, and having then their jump off point for their new canon, they have yet to maintain a level of consistency that was kept under Lucas. And yes, there's some goofy stuff here and there, but there was still that level of consistency through the stories and stuff like that they tried to keep the beats of. This, on the other hand, they just kind of love playing it fast and loose and just seeing what sticks and what doesn't.
Yeah. It's just, doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I mean, what kind of got me though with part of this episode, with part of this first episode, is in the whole first scene, he's talking with the mayor's rep or just going through the different people coming through, and it's just kind of like people, I've heard other people point out, it's getting this level of Marvel MCU tier dialogue where it just kind of doesn't fit that character, because as we saw through Empire Strikes Back, which was pretty much the only time we did get any level of dialogue from Boba Fett, but he kept it short, to the point, and that was it. We didn't need anything else. Otherwise, he kept his mouth shut.
He was this mysterious,
and he kept his helmet on. God damn it,
he did. Which is that could be a whole nother podcast that we do, just based off taking off helmets. But I think the frustrating part for me was, going to, it cuts to the scene where he's in Jabba's palace. He's on for lack of better terms, the throne, and all these people are coming in and they're paying tribute. But Filoni and the writers, they don't give a backstory about how Boba, like, why he's there. So like,
well, remember, the part of his introduction for him there in Jabba's palace happened at the end of Mandalorian season 2. That was wonderful. Their whole launch. That was their whole launching point. So if you didn't, that's kind of the thing. If you didn't watch that last episode,
so let me ask you this: did they touch on the fact Bib Fortuna and him?
Yeah, Bib Fortuna had taken over for Jabba. Apparently, he survived somehow from the sail barge. but he survived.
Interesting enough.
He also himself got incredibly fat.
Because it's clone.
And was sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
And then it was their whole stinger at the end of Mando season 2 was them him and Boba and oh god, I'm forgetting her name now, but they walk into the palace, kill
Fennec.
Fortuna, and kill him, and then Boba Fett takes the seat, and then they're in charge. And then so that's what
I need to go back and watch, I guess, the second season. This is like, for those of us, I just have a real problem with just Disney Star. I watched, I think, the first season of The Mandalorian, and that was as bad as much when they butchered the Krayt Dragon. I don't know if you remember seeing that episode. I was just done.
Yeah, the first episode of season 2.
That
was what started off with their whole doing this weirdness with the Tuskens actually interacting with outsiders, but I guess this is supposed to explain why they were, even though that just still seemed random and goofy as hell, because Mando, as far as we had seen, hadn't done anything with the Tuskens. We didn't have any prior backstory or stuff like that.
Well, then,
and who knows if we ever will. Who knows if we ever will?
Well, then for those of you that might be listening, so can you explain? And if they haven't, this is strictly for if they've not watched, the last season of Mando. Did they touch on did they follow like canon at all, where like Bib Fortuna, his brain was put into a clone, and that explains why he's more obese, and then Fett kills Bib Fortuna, and then he becomes
okay. Let me stop you. You're already would be giving them too much credit for going that deep into any kind of lore.
Okay.
No,
right.
It was just called Bib Fortuna is there on the throne. He sees them. They come walking in, blast him, kill him, get him out of the seat, and boom. Then they hit the stinger for Book of Boba Fett coming whenever.
This is why I have problems with these shysters, because they get about maybe not even a fourth of it. It's just, you see why I have trust problems? Like, they don't even follow. They say you walk in and you just kill Bib, and you're like, oh, I'm the new Major Domo. Pay me your tribute. Like, so I was just curious, get your thoughts on it.
Well, that's what I found. That was what I found funny. I'm like, for one, I would think, Boba would kind of know how to play the politic game, so he would have probably given some kind of compensation. But I couldn't help but think at the same time he might have broken an arm and then sent him on his way.
Probably. I mean,
but I would have think if he was going to play this sort of silly game of I'm now the daimyo, which I found was funny that they used that term, but
why didn't they just say Major Domo? Because that's what Bib was. That was his title.
Well, I don't know. But he's now. He's now the Hutt. Yeah. Whatever. So I don't know. It just seemed that he's trying to. I don't know, man. The whole thing came off as just kind of goofy to me.
Right.
All in all, for that little intro, and then he goes into the city, does his little kind of introductions to the places, getting basically inside of everyone,
right?
And then we get the goofy scene of the Shield warriors that come in.
Well, we got to talk about these Gamorreans though first.
That's the two
Tweedledee and Tweedledum over here. we got to touch on that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because I'm just there's so much to unpack here. Where he's like, I'm gonna roll with respect. I'm like, bro, you're a Mandalorian. Like, I understand there is a respect. Like there's obviously a respect factor there, but I
can't imagine too much with Gamorreans, considering they are generally very low IQ. They're not very smart. This is why they're usually just thuggish guards.
Right.
And it was funny because it was even in the X-Wing books, which are also pretty good. But the X-Wing books, there was who was called Piggy, a Gamorrean that was tested on by the Empire to enhance his intelligence.
Yes.
So then they had him like with like a translator so that he could speak to everyone else. But it was just the thing. It's like, these things aren't really intelligent creatures to begin with. This is why they're guards usually or something like that. So, and I'm guessing, that's kind of the what Fennec Shand was giving him the little warning, I don't think this is such a good idea.
Because they're dumber than a box of rocks, or
between that, and I'm willing to bet this will come back to bite Boba in the ass somewhere down the line, where either these two Gamorreans happen to still be in play with maybe the two Hutts that we see in the second episode,
right?
Or some other power out there that it wouldn't surprise me that that's going to be their try at. Oh, look at what a twist!
Yeah, and then we jump down to. So they go into I'm assuming like is it like a day spa casino ratchet
something like that. It's basically like a bar casino sort of thing. They got their live music,
business in the front, party in the back type thing, and then they
so he's coming by and getting his
cut,
doing his collection his cut,
and then and then we see the ridiculousness of his helmet, the inside of his helmet, which wasn't really a helmet. I just feel like in our day and age, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but in our day and age, like I just feel like the costumes are just dog water costumes, just the worst. Like and again, I'm old, I'm biased. I think that George Lucas did a better job in '74 coming up with costumes than like we're doing in 2022. I'm sorry.
That's been my point for a long time, ever since they first started the whole new trilogy with Force Awakens. When you saw these guys in their armor, even the bounty hunters that Han encounters on that ship with the weird tentacle monsters, their armor just looks it's damaged, but it's shiny as hell. So it just comes off as like, man, they really make sure and polish up before they go out on site, before they do anything, because otherwise nothing looks lived in. And that was always the great detail of the older stuff from the original trilogy and everything, that even like the stormtroopers, their gear looked lived in, especially when they were down on the sand troopers on Tatooine.
Tatooine.
Their gear looked worn. It's
seen
some time out there.
I'm pretty sure they were. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say they were on the Executor Vader ship, but like even the Trandoshians and the bounty hunters, like their armor looked like they had just been fighting. Like they just looked like they've been in multiple fights.
Absolutely.
Looking at and again, unless you're,
and that's how Boba Fett's armor looked too. And then he gets this goofy paint job, and now it looks like everybody else's armor. I'm like, but the original gear looked awesome.
But even even the costumes though in like the first episode, like I could tell that they're Trandoshians, but that's because I know what the freaking Trandoshan species looks like. But the costume itself, it's like just goofy. Like the Rhodian, like earlier in the episode, where they're digging for these these watermelon type whatever.
That was again another goofy thing that I thought of. It was like Boba, once he gets out of those chains, he would have booked it. Unless it was somebody that he knew that he could get value out of, maybe he would have dragged him along, but he would have dragged him. He wouldn't have given him an option. It would have been called, okay, you're coming with me. I know you got some monetary value for me. I'm taking you.
Not
you
the,
like
not
it or
the
not.
Good Samaritan, like, do you want me to save your life, Rhodes?
Yeah. It's.
But yeah,
he's becoming the bounty hunter with a heart of gold.
It's like, bro, you are a Mandalorian. Act like it. You might be a clone of the original, but you're still a Mandalorian,
right?
And I just feel like through this whole at least the first episode, he's the complete opposite of what in my mind and not even in my mind. Like if you read the books by Karen Travis, and I apologize if I'm butchering her last name, but like the one who created the like she created the. I'm not gonna say race because I know it's not a race, but she created the
Right. The
Mandalorian and
culture.
the culture. Yes, it's a good word, culture. And when you read those books, like I remember just reading kind of the like the Republic Commando and some of those
Yeah.
books that she wrote. Like it's not the Boba
Well, and
of old
it's
time
the
past.
culture, the language, and stuff like that. But no, it's. I mean, he even before Django was killed, he was giving him instructions on how to hunt, how to fight,
Right.
and stuff like that. He
Boba as a
wasn't.
child was more pissed off than Boba as the adult. Like I'd be more scared of Boba as a child than I would about this Boba.
Well,
That
this is the thing too. This is a guy. He saw his father killed by a Jedi. Okay, he goes through. Then what? We got 20 years and everything. 20,
yeah.
25 years
It's just you
of
can't
the
even mourn
Empire,
that.
but of him, surviving on his own, being a bounty hunter, being as ruthless as generally possible. And I mean, like it was, you did have Vader that walked up to him and pointed to him, making sure and going, no, and remember, no disintegration. So he's clearly known for, either not
Vader,
giving a hell.
yeah, like there was a couple. I mean, yeah, to touch on that, like there were a couple of these bounty hunters up. I mean, I'm pretty sure you had the Black Sun, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like on on the bridge and everything. But like Vader would not be calling in just some you know baby kissing old lady walking across the street bounty hunter to hunt these people that he wants hunt. Like these are like Trandosians are ruthless. For those who don't know much about, like they're you don't mess with them.
No,
and then
no,
obviously the Mandalorians.
they're the types that hunt Wookiees, for God's
Hell,
sakes.
and then the Black Sun Syndicate, like that crime syndicate, the Black Sun. I mean they're even referencing KOTOR too, but it's
Yeah,
just
it's funny
like
how long they've actually been around. But that's the unfortunate thing too, is that we're missing these other criminal organizations. We don't have the Black Sun. We don't, which was although maybe even by this time was kind of dinged out after Shadows of the Empire and stuff. But even then, we just don't have enough for this to kind of be competition for everyone.
yeah. So we're up to where they're getting tributes, and then there's this mysterious mayor,
Right,
who
which we don't really get any word on. We just get the lackey.
Yeah, the Twi'lek that speaks medieval basic, apparently. Old medieval basic. Do we touch on this these assassins, these secret assassins?
Well, that was kind of where I was jumping into.
Yeah,
the Shield warriors.
I had to jump on the Gamorreans because that was
that's what you wanted to get into. No, the Shield guys. I just kind of was again. How much of a dumb move is it that once these guys are so close in, Boba's like, hey, you know what's a good idea? I'm gonna rocket them. That's a brilliant idea. Even though they have their shields all raised, I could flame their feet or use my jetpack and get some leverage on them. He does the rocket to the face.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I like how he referenced Fennec Shand as a master assassin, and I don't feel like, and there's people are probably gonna be like, oh, you're just an a-hole, you're whatever. But like, she's not every master assassin should not have been the term that he used to describe her.
Oh,
you're fighting these guys, like, and to your point, like, there was no strategy, there was no
since Boba's no longer a master bounty hunter, apparently master doesn't mean much, so she's a master assassin, I guess. Yeah, but even these guys, I'm wondering what the hell these guys were, because I forgot if they even called them.
I don't remember if they did, but I guess the more I guess it's frustrating because like you think like, okay, this is one, it's a Mandalorian, right? It's Boba Fett, like. These 6 guys shouldn't even been like I get that they have shields, but like in my mind, like you haven't been a threat, man. Like, to your point, like you have so many things at your disposal. This is the guy. Even if we go to like the Clone Wars, where he fought Obi-Wan, and had an advantage against him because of his.
Wait,
I
who?
want to say
Wait.
not sorry, Boba, but like Django. I mean,
Well, yeah, Django fought
Django, but
some of the Jedi,
some of the
but
same weapons and arm. But there's just no.
well, yeah, and that's where he was taught the same tactics and stuff like that. So he at least has an understanding on how to fight people that maybe have a little higher sensory ability.
Yeah. So I just thought, and then so they're fighting, they're trying to do what they can to almost at this point what it looks like is survive, which is a joke because they should be like there should be 12 of them. They should be fighting 12 of them and kicking every one of their teeth down their throat. And then like the Gamorreans come in and save the day.
Yeah, this is kind of like I was starting to wait for the Gamorreans to come back into it. I'm like, okay, so where are they right now? Are they just gonna let them get their
So let me ask you this: did you at any point in time when you were watching this think that the Gamorreans were going to save the day? That they were going to come in and kind of save them both?
Well, I should say it was more of wondering where the heck they were and if they were going to join in on the fight.
Probably playing Pizak.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to necessarily be the saviors of the little fight, but
right.
No, I didn't think
I also
anything
thought
like
the
that.
Gamorreans were a little bit more obese than these guys.
These ones do look. I was wondering if it was just me. They did seem a little more trim.
Yeah, they look like they should be in Fort Lauderdale, sipping on a little rum and coke on the beach. I mean, these guys are like some slight bodybuilders. But I remember the Gamorreans like that from days of old. Waddled in Jabba's palace because they're so big and so yeah. But
they were definitely more chunky boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we touch on the fact that there was absolutely zero blood in all these fight scenes?
Yes, that was something that I noticed too, and I was just kind of again is like, okay, this is the Disneyfication of it. It's just they're not gonna get gory, they're not gonna get bloody. It's not gonna touch.
Did you say Disneyfication?
Yeah,
the word that that just came to my mind was defecation when you said Disneyfication. That's gonna be our new. At least in my mind, that's what I'm going to start using. Disneyfication, i.e. defecation.
I'm not against that. Those two things going hand in hand. I am all for that.
Those that might be listening, this is all organic, by the way. This has not been scripted. We've known each other for a long time, and we've had many a conversation with each other. And this is 100% off script, organic, and I am a believer that it is the best when it's organic. But that's great. Yeah, we're gonna post this Disneyfication, i.e. defecation. Love it.
All for it. Okay.
I'm gonna send it to Filoni. I'm actually typing up an email right now, and I'm gonna send it to Filoni. Disneyfication.
So yeah.
Yeah. So we're to the fight scene, and then they're fighting, and then they break up, and then this
Fennec Shen decides to go after him after Boba gets tasered to holy hell. Which
again, before after he shoots the rocket, and the guy
that was all after, because it's basically as soon as they turned on their shields, they all surrounded them. That's when Boba put out his arm, blasted himself in the face, and then knocked mostly him and Shand over. And then they kind of do some close quarters fighting. Yeah, and then he starts getting tasered to holy heck. The Gamorreans come in and kind of help break things up and diffuse the battle a little bit more. The two of them bunk off up onto the buildings, and
he shoots one of them.
She starts to take after. He blew up one of them. Okay, but then there's two left after he blows up one. But the two that are left, he then tells her, "I want them alive."
Yeah, he's like, "Alive, Finnick."
Which I once he was trying to interrogate them. Okay, I can understand that aspect. It just still was like, waste them.
I may have missed it, but when he rockets the one guy, and again, when I watched it, it looked like the guy just disappeared. But I don't know with
Pretty much.
with rockets and what typically happens when a rocket explodes. It usually, can potentially enter the body, and then the body explodes, and there's a lot more goriness than just a body disappearing and just leaving a black smoldering
Black
mess
speck
on the wall.
on the side of the building. Yeah.
Which and then there's even a part in the fight scene where the Gamorrean, like, I think cuts a guy, or he swings the sword at somebody's neck or something, or his body, and again, like, just nothing.
Yeah, and that's where I was expecting to see, like,
listen,
I don't know why I expected it, considering I know where this is coming from. But for some reason, this part of me was like, okay, where's that spray of blood? At least just a little bit of a spray of blood once he got cleaved, but no.
Yeah. Contrary to what many might believe, like, I got a paper cut earlier today, and I just blood just for days. It was a receipt piece of paper. It was a receipt that I just cut, and then blood everywhere. Had to go to the hospital.
Those things can be nasty, man. Those things can be nasty.
Yeah. So it's just interesting, and I keep thinking about Disneyfication. So and she goes off, and she eventually, like, sees the two, and then I guess she kicks one off the wall or something, and then captures the other one.
Once she catches up to them and has them cornered, basically, she then kind of looks at them for a moment, kicks the one off. I think she disarmed them. Kicks one off the side of the building. We get our haha moment, and then it's like, okay, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
And then I believe we get Boba getting thrown back into his back to bed, and then he's it's again the whole
having
rest
all these
of it.
Visions of like these visions.
Well, the vision thing doesn't come till, I mean, this is all just like his memory. Apparently, the dreams have come back,
right?
And it's just kind of, this is their way of having us get caught up to where he first, like, basically probably appeared in Mandalorian when they did the Tatooine episode.
Yeah. I think that pretty much ends, I think, episode 1. And again, if we're missing anything,
the only thing that I could say, is that then he's helping the Tusken kid do the whole salvaging for water with the water pods. He fights I don't
even know what that monster was canon. I didn't know what it was.
It's a random thing that they brought in.
It reminded me of the Mortal Kombat. What was
Goro?
Goro. I really thought that Disney had bought out the studio that produced Mortal Kombat, and then Goro just showed up at Tatooine.
I can definitely see that. I was definitely in more of the impression of, like, this looks like
like Goro.
It looks like a Ray Harryhausen monster. Like, it looks like from Clash of the Titans or something like that. That sort of monster that I forget what they call it, but
showing our age.
The one that the one that comes out of the water, and
100%.
I also thought the creature from the Black Lagoon, like around the head. That's what I thought it looked like. I thought it looked like that.
Kids,
and I was just kind of like, okay, they're kind of scraping in some weird areas, considering there's some kind of there's creatures that you could have, some goofy, well, not goofy, just some creatures, monsters that would have been fine that are already established as being on Tatooine. It would have been fine, but they wanted to create this Goro ripoff.
Yeah. Kids, do yourself a favor. Stop watching TikTok and go watch some of these classic, old school black and white movies. You won't be disappointed. And if you are, then
never are.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. But when I first saw it, I was like, man, this is Goro had a baby, had relations with a Minotaur, and this baby is
oh boy, we're into some dark territory there.
Listen, it's not my fault you decided to choose this ridiculous monster-looking thing. So
that wasn't me that chose it; they chose it.
I'm just saying, yeah. But and then that whole monster thing, and just the water paws, and it's just very,
that was basically then, and then because he brought back the head of the creature, he was accepted. Yay!
Yeah. But I don't even know how he cut the head. I'm assuming
Well, they just dragged it along with them. I mean, the
Yeah.
kid was carrying. Last I remember, the kid was carrying it. So
yeah. And then is that
So that's basically
that
that's
pretty much it?
episode. That's episode one.
episode one.
That was
Okay.
episode one. See, this is the thing. Like after I first watched it, I was just kind of like, it's okay. It's not jumping a high bar. It's just an okay episode. If you look at it from just the standpoint of watching a Star Wars series without really thinking, yeah, you can enjoy it just because and some people have, good for them, but they're wrong.
Yeah,
I'll just be blunt about it, but it's not hitting any high bars. It's just kind of an okay thing, and that's what Mandalorian was too. It was okay. It wasn't. I mean, other than other than like when they hit peak, nostalgia fanboyism with the end of season 2, bringing in Luke for that whole scene. But even then, once you actually stop and think, once you stop and think about it, you start to realize the flaws in it, and it's kind of like, oh, Luke is kind of out of character here, because even with that, it would have been called, hey, is everyone okay? Is there anything I could do to help out here? You guys seem to be in a tight spot. Right. So this is kind of like, hey, I'm here. Oh, I'm taking the kid.
Where's this baby at?
Yeah, where's this baby Jedi at? Oh, it's a little Yoda thing. Okay, let's go. And then
can we establish the fact real quick? Hamill wasn't on set with the set. I mean, this was all CGI.
He was.
He was on set.
He was. No, he was on set, and then they did the whole deep fake de-aging thing to get him.
My whole childhood's been a lie. They told me he was not on set.
I saw images and video and stuff where he was, yes, on set and delivered the line, and then, like I said, they just de-aged him and everything and did that weird, goofy, uncanny valley Luke.
I'm just gonna say this: if Filoni and Favreau, who are the puppets of Kennedy, I know that's gonna piss some people off, but that's how.
No, you're absolutely right.
If they're not gonna listen to Lucas, and if Lucas himself,
Lucas isn't even involved. He may appear on set and stuff, but I mean that's been about it. As far as I know, he hasn't really given us a strong input other than later down the line of going, oof.
Right. But I guess if they aren't going to listen to Lucas, then I guess that's one thing. But if Hamill's been one of the most involved, I mean, of the old school, he's been involved just as much as Lucas, if not more, since Lucas stepped aside. So if he came on set, and I'm sure Lucas probably gave maybe some of his ideas or his given piece of his mind, and if they're not, I don't think there's any hope for those two. If you're not going to listen to Lucas, if you're not going to listen to Hamill, then there's just, you're not going to listen to anybody.
I mean, yeah, I didn't hear anything about Hamill giving any input. The last time I heard he gave any kind of input was back with Force Awakens and possibly Last Jedi.
Right.
But they both, poo-pooed on that and said, "Go away, Hamill. We don't want to."
Right.
we don't want to. That's basically like he even put it. They patted him on the head and sent him away.
Right.
So these people, they're Hollywood people more than him probably, and they're about their own ideas. They want to see their imaginations play out versus actually trying to honor something, the legacy of Star Wars and of utilizing these people's knowledge who are just as big of fans of the property as the rest of us. I mean, that's gonna be at least one thing that can be said for Hamill. He has at least done his research too, and knows his character as well as possible. And having been with Lucas,
you think it's safe to say that Mark Hamill maybe knows more about Star Wars than Filoni and Favreau?
I don't know about that. I mean, he may. I wouldn't put it. He might have done more. Reading on EU and stuff like that. But I mean, he could. It wouldn't surprise me if he might know. He probably more than Favreau.
I just feel
I'm
like
willing to
Hamill
bet.
himself, like, and I don't know. I mean, I've heard people say, well, Favreau and Filoni, they both were students of Lucas, and I don't know
Well,
if
no,
I,
it wasn't Favreau. It was Filoni that is basically being the one that's honored in
yeah,
as the passing of the torch, that he's the one that will save Star Wars, and he's the one to go to for, trying to keep the legacy intact when all the evidence to the contrary. And he is very much in line with Kathleen Kennedy and Disney, whoever is passing down the orders. He's more than happy to play along and play ball. So no, no.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to. So let's recap real quick. I think it'd be
Okay.
kind of a fun exercise. So what are your takeaways and your honest opinion of episode 1? And we'll try to do it. And again, this will be hard. We'll try to do it from a non-bias.
Well, okay, from a non-bias, like I was saying, it was an okay episode. It had some it had the little humor bits here and there. It gave you your quick information on how he got out of the Sarlacc pit and survived. It just still, but even then, like I said, it has its problems with anybody that has an operating brain cell. That when you have a guy that shoots a rocket launcher to a bunch of shield guys, that's kind of a bad idea.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it also makes Boba Fett look a little weak, because he does that, and then on top of it, he's getting taken out of the fight. He got shocked as much as Fennec, and yet she's running off and chasing these guys.
Right.
So and we lost him. Hopefully he can get back in. Oh no. Hang on. Shoot. That's weird. For some reason, it kicked him out. So I'll just be trying to get. Oops. Darn it. Sorry about this. Copy. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Got him. There we go. Got you back.
I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, so I would. So that's what I would say would be, my thought. It was just an okay episode. The monster looked neat. It was just kind of a intro.
From a canonicy standpoint, canonicy, I think that's the word I'm trying to use, or from a accurate standpoint, how much accuracy do you think this episode 1 had in regards
accuracy
to canon?
And what
with canon
to Disney's canon is probably about as on point as you can be.
We'll do Disney.
I'm just also a little tired of seeing Tatooine at this point, or desert planets in general. There's so many planets out in the Star Wars universe. Why are we still on Tatooine of all freaking places?
So I'm not gonna say Disney canon. I'll say Disney, however they want to say, and then we'll just say like legend canon. So from like a legend canon standpoint, how accurate do you think it was?
It pretty much continues to piss on the legacy of Legends canon.
Okay.
So, okay, now what about your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the episode from a non-biased standpoint?
So
if you are capable of doing so.
It'd be very, very hard. I'm trying to do my best to come at it from a non-biased standpoint. I don't even know if I'd say it's okay. Like it's watchable, but there's a lot of issues that I have with it. Like, one, first and foremost, like it doesn't, like, if I wasn't a true canon fan, then I guess I could follow it somewhat. But being somebody who knows canon, it was just all over the place, and it didn't follow canon. It didn't give you a clear, like, not really timeline, but like, okay, this event happened, which led to this event, that put him like here, if you will, like it, you know what I mean? So the costumes. I mean, just I don't know. I didn't really like the costumes. I just felt like it could have been a lot better.
I'd say it also still relies. It does rely heavily. I guess heavily. It relies on you having watched Mandalorian seasons
For
1 and
sure.
2 to
Right.
have
So I guess
gotten that extra perspective.
For sure. So I guess what
So-
I'll have to do for the people out there is I guess I will go watch Mandalorian 2. I will do what I can to sit through this, and maybe next Saturday we will well, not maybe, we'll be here next Saturday night, and we'll reconvene. But I think it's watchable. But again, it was hard to follow. So if you're saying that if I'd watched the season 2 of Mandalorian, it would be, if that's like kind of the missing link, I'm very curious to see if my perspective changes.
I think it does, at least it gives you some level of explanation as to, for
Right.
one, why he has new painted armor, how he got the armor back, because
Right.
this is the whole starting point of him losing the armor. And then, like I said, then it flashes forward and he's got the armor back on, or
Right.
or it can make some people wonder: is this brand new armor? Did he get something? Did he get something new made?
Right.
What's the situation here? So
is there a cave that has just a ton of Beskar that he's melting down and making? Because it's a hot commodity, Beskar. If you see what I did there, I don't know if you saw what I did there or not, but.
So, yeah, okay. So now season episode 2.
Yeah.
So basically,
because this is fresh because I just watched this thing last night. So
right. So like it was, we're there. They started off with interrogating the one little lone assassin they captured.
Yeah.
I'll admit I did get kind of a chuckle out of it when they threw him into the Sarlacc pit, or not the Sarlacc pit, the Rancor.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did they get themselves a new little baby Rancor or something like that? And they get him to basically, piss himself and go, okay, it was the mayor. And it's like, and they just kind of go, dude, the Rancor was killed. What your information sucks. So
yeah.
It did. I won't lie. It did give me a bit of a chuckle when they kind of pulled that little fast one on him.
Yeah.
Although at the same time, it makes him look really freaking dumb to not just kind of wait and see,
right,
and just accept it.
The door.
These were clearly not high level assassins that were ready to take it to the grave. That who their employer was. So
right, definitely afraid of a door opening. And that's all it took, was just the door opening. A halfway or a fourth away for him to say, "I was in there."
Yeah. So, then we get it into then them going to the mayor's office, and we get this goofball scene with it's
an Ithorian, is he not? He's an Ithorian. The mayor.
Yeah, the mayor is an Ithorian.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. And then, that whole scene, I was trying to.
Well, and then it's just kind of funny because it's like called, oh, hey, he was a bounty. Yeah, there's your penance
here's your reward for this.
Really,
bounty.
this is how that's gonna play out. Oh, okay. And then Boba's just like, okay, cool.
Okay, well, I'll just take the money as tribute, anyways. I'll take the money that you should have paid me as tribute in the first place. For this bounty, but it's like, but it didn't make any sense. Like, oh, it's a bounty, but then this guy, the assassin, said himself that the mayor sent him. But then they obviously, ironically, shoot him before he can even say anything.
Right.
So then
we get through that, but then of course now we get the introduction of 2 Hutts that were the cousins of Jabba.
Can I ask this? Real quick, is the female Hutt?
Yeah,
was she the one that was in the Clone Wars series?
I was wondering that myself, but I don't think so.
Like Zed or whatever.
I could be wrong though.
Yeah,
but what I will say, I was like, okay, we finally got something for a pretty badass looking Wookiee, and that's that. I don't know if they even gave him a name. But that was the one thing was that Wookiee bodyguard that came out and was
It looked like yeah.
I was like, oh, finally we get a bad guy Wookiee for once, because we haven't had that in the series, at least in the new line. So we've only seen it in a few expanded universe stories, and I know in like KOTOR 2 there was one, and then this guy here. So I was like, okay, it looks pretty badass. So we'll see if they actually have anything that he does, if Boba's gonna take him on at any point, because there's gonna be some kind of kerfuffle between him and these two freaking Hutts, because they were already posturing of wanting to take back Jabba's spot. So so they're setting up the whole tension there for whatever's gonna come of that.
Can I just sit here and just point out real quick that Wookiee looked like was it Chundar in KOTOR, or the brother of Zalabar?
Oh,
you remember those two Wookiees that were in the game
in Knights of the Republic 1?
Yeah,
Zalbar was the main one.
Zalbar, but then like Chundar was
his brother. I don't think he looked like that.
Maybe it's not Chundar, but it was one of the Wookiees. I don't know. That's what I thought of when I first. We should look it up. He's the first one that came to mind when I saw him.
Zalbar. Zalbar, yeah, it was, of course, like I said, Chundar. He only has like the dark hair, so I was just kind of looking it up really quick, and yeah, he's got the dark hair.
Yeah,
but that's kind of it.
I don't know. They all kind of look similar. Somewhat.
Not gonna lie.
I mean,
I can't.
I don't know.
But
he's he has more black hair than brown though, which was kind of interesting.
It was the one in the KOTOR 2. Let's see. That was, what was his name? Hanhar.
Yes.
Okay, no, Hanhar was again more looking like kind of the same coloring as Zalbar. He had the two bandoliers on him, but that was it. So he didn't have this look. This Wookiee's got his own thing going on.
Yeah, it's still interesting to see though. But that's what came to my mind. For whatever reason, I think about KOTOR and the Wookiees in there.
Well, that's where we definitely got to first see some, besides the Christmas special. That was definitely where we got to see some more of the some of the Wookiee species and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so we're up to the parade with the two, and
and
mentions a little bit about Bib Fortuna, a little bit, not a lot.
Not a lot. No. They just kind of briefly mention him, but then we're just basically right back into flashback land where he's.
But what I thought was funny is like he's willing to take on. He's like, he references like, you're gonna have to kill me, but so he's willing to take on those Wookiee, but he just got his teeth knocked down his throat by 6 of these assassins that
have nothing, that are nowhere in comparison to strength of a Wookiee. And
last time I checked, Wookiees will tear your throat out of your butthole and not have a second, thought about it. But you'll fight, Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, yeah, and then this kind of makes you wonder what they're gonna follow in line with. So is he gonna also be part, or would he ever actually use his claws?
He's and then because they again, I mean, and this is I'm pretty sure this is canon. That's not a thing. They do not use their claws.
No, it's for their civilized society. They refrain from using the claws.
Right.
Otherwise, then they get, if they do, then they're exiled and called Mad Claws.
How did these two Jabba's cousins, they are his cousins, these Hutts, how did they get a Wookiee? Because the Wookiees did not like slavers. Like, and again, I know Some people,
Well, you always get
you're
the
just
few bad ones
right.
here and there, right?
Well, so I'm sure there might be people like, well, KOTOR is not technically canon. Well, it was before Disney bought, Lucas. So I'm still, but like, with the slavers that were on the Kashyyyk as the was it Zerka Corps? Like
Yeah.
they were not fond. They were not fond of the slavers. And so it's just interesting. It's like, how did they get this Wookiee? Did they save his life? Is is he owe a life debt now? Like, it's just very interesting. And of all people, the Hutts, like, I mean, they do, I guess, know how to play the game.
Well, and then that's gonna be the question, right? Is will they actually bring that sort of thing up? Will it even be addressed? Because generally, Wookiees. I mean, for the most part, there's, like I said, there's one that'll go bad, but otherwise, they seem to be. They stick to they have their strong culture, and so the only way this one would be taken would be potentially it was enslaved, possibly by the Empire,
right?
Because that was the thing, and somehow these Hutts acquired him, and now he could owe them a life debt. So we don't know whether or not we will actually ever know. Only time will tell.
That whole dialogue was just because we know. I mean, these are Hutts. I mean, go ahead.
No, I go by all means. I didn't have anything.
I was just saying, the whole dialogue. Yeah, the whole dialogue was just kind of interesting because, like, these are the Hutts, right? I mean, they're pretty feared, well established,
right?
In the galaxy, and maybe if not the galaxy, definitely the Outer Rim. And just the whole dialogue was just kind of like I was almost expecting more, like even though like Boba is one to be feared himself. Well, let's say the Boba of old, the one that was on the bridge back then,
right.
I think the Hutt should equally be feared as well. And so, like, I just found it interesting that Boba was like, "Go back to your home on Nalhutta." Or Narhutta, it's Nalhutta.
That was the one thing that I was actually surprised that they used was Nalhutta.
Yeah, Nalhutta. I get it mixed up with Nar Shaddaa, but Nalhutta, it's like
right. Well, yeah, because it's a smuggler's moon and stuff like that, so it's to be expected.
Right. So it was kind of like I don't know. I was kind of thinking that it would be more of a maybe fearful of both, like fearful of each other. Like they should be fearful of Boba because like this dude is like an established bounty hunter that had worked for Jabba for one of Jabba's one of his most powerful, lucrative bounty hunters out there. Yeah. So there should have been more of a fearful respect from their part. But I think Boba, expecting maybe a little bit more of also in return a respect for them because like these are like, okay, like, they're Hutts and they're cousins of Jabba, but they're still Hutts.
Right.
Which, you know what I mean? So just
I don't know. Just because Hutts being Hutts, they don't tend to have much of a fear for other people. They kind of see themselves as top tier on the ecosystem especially when it comes to the crime business. So, and for anything that's been described for the way they fight, dear Lord. Now that is something I hope we actually get to see someday is two Hutts just duking it out because it sounds savage as hell. Otherwise,
it'll be better than watching two T-Rex.
But the Hutts won't have any respect for Boba. To them, I would see them as just being you're just a little worm. You don't have any of the connections and stuff like that to back you like we do. Look at this. We're already coming in. They got the pomp and everything. They're coming in on the having the slaves carry them in or whatever they are, carrying them in. They've got their Wookiee bodyguard. All Boba's coming in a trying to think of it, but from a presentation sort of standpoint, he kind of comes off as low tier as compared to them with like I said with their kind of style of coming into the town. They made a much more bigger show, and he just kind of he tries to act all like he's one of the people,
right? he wants
he's
to
not
rule with
he's
respect.
not above them. He wants the respect and stuff like that. So like even Fennec Shen said, though, some fear can go a long way for keeping your thumb on people.
Right.
So
this is a newfound Boba, and we need to respect the fact that he wants to go and turn over a new leaf.
I'm wondering if he really lost a lot of oxygen in that Sarlacc pit. And
he lost something in that pit. Fractured filter. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
whether it be oxygen or something else. Pride. I don't know. So, but okay. So why don't you take us to the next scene after they're like, well, we're going to table this for another day. God bless you, and we'll be back.
Well, it's again, like I said, we go back into flashback land, and he's being trained by the Tusken Raider in their combat style with the Gaddafi sticks.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of more of, him living among the Tusken Raiders and trying to kind of they find a way of bridging the gap of communications. Then
what do you think the point of that was, though? Like, I want to touch on that, because I was thinking about that like through the whole episode. It's like, again, I know we touched on this earlier in the episode. Like, this is Boba Fett, like a Mandalorian who pride themselves on being very efficient in hand-to-hand combat, using weapons and all of that. And he's sitting there learning, attempting to learn, more often than not getting his butt kicked by this Tusken Raider and the Gaddafi stick. Like what is the point of this episode? Like what? Like Boba should know. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so it's just like Thrawn, right? And I know this we're comparing apples to oranges, but like Thrawn knew every one of his enemies intimately, right? Like he could,
to him he wanted to study the culture's art, and to him, if you studied the culture's art, you can understand the way they think, their tactics and stuff like that. So that was how,
like, in my mind, I think like a Mandalorian, like they would know their enemy just as intimately in tactics. And I know Tusken Raiders probably, are Raiders, but I'm talking about like they should be well skilled in understanding in combat.
Even the thing is, though, is like with the Tusken Raiders, since they at least from a lot of my usual understanding of it is that they're they stay away from any other cities and towns and cultures and stuff like that. They keep themselves detached.
Right.
Nobody is really knowing a whole lot about them, other than when they do raids and stuff like that. That's their only knowledge of them. Otherwise, they've managed to stay very private with their whole system. So this is, you can look at it as Boba sticking around with them, learning some new fighting skills, stuff like that. But this is, I don't even, it just kind of comes down to what people kind of been joking about. This is like, Dances with Wolves, but Dances with Banthas. This is just him just kind of being amongst the quote unquote, savage tribes, but learning their ways, and it's, humanizing them or whatever, than just him embracing it. So
you said that earlier. I just want to touch on this real quick. So we were talking earlier before the episode, and he Fractured Filter made this comment, and I about lost my like I was laughing so incredibly hard, just because of the reference. It was very, very funny. So good on you for doing that. I needed the laugh, because exactly what it is, dancing with band. I mean, that is like, and
it's essentially what's going on, and it's just building more on. It almost just feels a bit like filler. Like this is just how they're kind of padding out the episode till they get to whatever they need to move on with. But it's just that, it's just kind of filler. And then it's finally like, now they're being messed with by this random train that's zipping through the wasteland. So then we get kind of our bad guys for the episode.
Right. and then we're at that, and then what's next? I'm having
Well,
a brain
it's
fart.
it's just
what's next?
it first starts out
the
with
train
with
doesn't
that,
show up yet.
but what gets me with it too is like they get cut down. Like a lot of Tuskens get essentially wiped out with the first run too.
Like,
oh yeah, they get eviscerated.
And
But
then they're hiding behind the Bantha, which I was like,
well, that makes sense. But the funny
Right.
thing is I feel like none of their numbers were actually lost, because this is still from what we've been shown. This is a very small tribe. So
Right.
you would think that with what they showed us, how many they were, quite a few of them were cut down by the
Right.
first pass. So you would think they wouldn't be exactly too inclined to want to, take this thing on.
Right.
But he does convince them that, hey, we can do this, but only after, he sees that biker gang from the last episode that was basically raiding places and tagging the house before they left. And then, he sees these guys again and decides, hey, give me some weapons. I'm going to go and collect us some supplies for them to be able to do this whole train car heist almost.
Right.
So, and then that's where we get, of course, our goofy little scene of, hang on, let me pull it up really quick because it's funny as hell.
So pumped. This. I don't know if this sound's gonna play, but
no, I tried to make sure to mute it because I'm pretty sure that would be
copyright.
Something like that, yeah.
But this.
And then when people have been, joking, it's like, oh, like a bantha.
Yes,
because that's what he says at the end of that clip.
This brought tears. Not only joy.
It was just so good. I mean, we just get to the scene where he finally kicks a bunch of Goombas' asses. He takes them all out, although stupidly, he's hitting them with the rifle. Breaks the rifle. And then he finally switches over to the the training stick. Right. And it's like, bro, why weren't you doing that from the start? Or
right.
You used the pew pew for
the pew pew for all of 10 seconds.
It was just kind of silly the way that played out. Yeah. But
and the pew pew didn't even look like a real pew pew.
But we at least got to see him, beat up some goons.
Right.
And so that was the one pull away. And then, then he does the whole taking all the speeder bikes to then train all the Tuskens how to use this. And again, this is where some people have a point of contention about, is that, the Tuskens hate outsider technology. They don't like it. They don't want anything to do with it.
I was reading that.
Their Banthas are their transportation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Again, this is a very progressive tribe.
Very, yeah.
They're making changes, but that's, they do that whole training bit, and outside this,
I mean, I nowhere in my research, reading, somebody comment and let me know if I'm wrong, but I've never seen a Tusken Raider use like a transportation device other than like a Bantha, like ever. And then
pretty
this episode,
much
they're just mysteriously.
But I could be wrong too.
I could, but then they're using these swooper bikes to take down a train.
Which is very funny, because then they do this whole thing, and again you've got a bunch of these Tuskens that are getting cut down, blown up off their bikes and stuff like that. You get a few that make it on along with Boba, and they're practically, you know, kind of staying behind cover until the one female Tusken comes along, jumps in, beats the hell out of the goons inside, and kind of helps them progress forward to be able to being able to take over the train car until they basically take it over and crash it.
We got to touch on the robot with 16 hands. That's on LSD probably, or PC. What something he's on, because he's
on the spice.
That spice that what species was that? I know we're not there yet, but maybe we'll wait too, because I was trying to figure out what kind of species that I don't remember what they were, but yeah, they're on the train, and then the robot that has the 16 arms that's conducting the train, and I guess that's later.
And then it basically sets the train into overdrive and bounces, and it's like, screw it, I'm out until they
Peace
finally
out. I'm done.
And that's where then the whole thing crashes. Boba again plays diplomat.
Yeah.
With the I don't know what these aliens are. I'm guessing
we forgot one important key
what was that?
Was when Boba goes and he fights the Hell's Angels of the train or the bar.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The goons that he fought with the Tusken rifle, and then he breaks the rifle.
I had a brain.
That's what no, don't worry. That's what.
No, that's Hell's Angels of the swooper
of the Tatooine waste.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was like, man, they look a lot like bikers with their biker vest.
I noticed that too, and I was just kind of like, this is again where I get kind of annoyed when they feel they have to bring in so many real world comparisons,
right,
to somehow connect with the audience or whatever. Even though it's like, Lucas always kept it very detached. He never he never had too many real world things. Yes, they took certain weapons and remodeled them for the universe, but it wasn't like such a strong draw like this. And like what I've seen, like what kind of got me with the Jedi Fallen Order game, where in the beginning of it the main character is shown like wearing headphones and stuff. I'm like, they don't use headphones for anything other than maybe in when they were on the Falcon and taking shots at the TIE fighters. Otherwise, they use the holo terminals and stuff to get their the HoloNet and stuff like that. They have those sort of things that will play their music and everything. They don't use headphones and stuff like that.
Well,
and I remember too, early with Disney and getting the whole the Star Wars land or whatever for their parks. That was another thing that they were trying to do, was have a whole Coke, Sprite, little kind of container, Star Wars themed containers and stuff like that. It's come on.
Yeah.
No. Let's not do this.
Yeah. Well, and you had said this. I mean, and again, we won't say how long we've been friends. It's been a very long time, but I remember years ago, it was like a couple years ago, maybe, when the first Mandalorian came out, and that scene with Mando on the Tusken Raiders. Hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, and if it does, then you're welcome. But just having a kumbaya moment.
Oh,
the
fire. Like I've said, that just like it felt out of nowhere, because as far as we knew, Mando had no connection to Tuskens, and then suddenly it's like, hey, I can talk to Tuskens, and Tuskens are cool with me, man. We're bros, and it's just like, dude, what? And then let's not get even started on the crate thing. But so getting back to that, again, like it was, Boba plays diplomat with our weird fishy alien faces.
Yeah.
And calls them out on using their spice. And then it just kind of go, once they get all that water from the water compartment on the train.
Yeah.
All the kind of made me think of the end of Mad Max Fury Road, just spilling the water everywhere. Then we get to where Boba is gonna go on his happy little drug trip.
You're right. Yeah,
his whole soul search is little soul searching.
Yeah, I
event.
wanted to make a funny reference. When I saw that, I was like, I literally last night. I know I referenced this before the episode when we were talking, but it was when I saw that I was like, I just thought of like Mulan and Mushu, this little lizard dragon thing coming and going in his nose, and then he's tripping out on. I wondered like how much of that spice he maybe had been ingesting, before this whole thing. But again, but apparently, if you, and again, this is where I don't have an exuberant amount of knowledge from like a canon standpoint with this, but I was reading on fandom, which I know you got to be careful with a lot of the stuff that you read, because some of them, some people just post out there. But it's just interesting. I was reading this whole thing on fandom, and the whole thing that was written was identical to episode 2, which they were talking about, like the Tusken Raiders using these lizards to induce visions and all this stuff, and
in episode 2.
Yeah, so what I was reading before...
wait, are you referring to Attack of the Clones or the episode?
No, I'm sorry. Episode 2 of Boba.
Sorry,
no, you're good. No, episode 2.
Oh, so you're reading the descriptor for the episode before you watched it?
Well, I was trying to research. I was actually researching like Tusken Raiders and the culture and everything, and about a couple paragraphs down, it was describing the different like tribes and how there's different tribes, and some are more violent than others, and actually this tribe that Filoni, I guess, created, or not even created, but he uses.
And that's kind of the thing when you're looking up some of this information. If you're going through like the Wikipedia, you got to also kind of check the tabs and see if you're doing the Disney side or the true canon legend side. So you kind of, depending on what you're looking at, you got to kind of know, because they're going to be already filling in the information for the their canon,
right?
So
it's just
this is as far as I know, like this whole weird lizard drug trip thing is all brand new for all this.
Yeah. But and that whole it was just hard to follow.
When I saw it, my mind was thinking of I don't know if you watched the Stargate SG-1 series.
Oh, who hasn't watched Stargate?
Okay,
I haven't watched a lot of it, but
when that lizard first popped up into his brain, I was just kind of like, well, it was a little easier for the gold to do it to their nose, but I guess the nose works as well.
Yeah.
So apparently this lizard and whatever stuff they huffed into Boba's face was
it spice? Are these?
I don't know.
The Tuskens,
I think it was their own. I think it was their own little.
Is it homemade spice? Is it their own rendition?
I think
some spice, but
their own style of it. Yeah.
I honestly watching. So I was following pretty well up until the dragon lizard thing goes up in his nose, and then they blow the dust in his face, and then he just. I felt like I was in like Pink Floyd The Wall, for those of you that are old enough to remember that. And if you don't know that, then I had to question whether or not I had smoked some spice before.
Well, and this is them trying to tap into any kind of daddy issues or whatever kind of issues Boba Fett has towards Jango, and what his experiences have been. This is kind of trying to bring more of that to the surface for him to work out his demons. But the thing is, too, is like they've again tapped on this, and this is what I was also kind of wanting to mention. This one other channel, OG Star Wars, she did what she calls Coffee Chat, and they were talking about the comic books that was the Star Wars Blood Ties, which dives into a lot of the relationships between Jango Fett and also then later Boba, once he takes over the gear, and just kind of going through their history basically. And it does a lot better, and this is kind of where they're perhaps kind of grabbing from a little bit too, not just they might get to the bounty hunter wars kind of content, but this is also some of the stuff that they're grabbing from. So if anybody wants to kind of get some more info on that, I'd definitely say bounce over there because they're great for extra EU content.
What was the one? Just take a real quick break here. There was a couple guys that you referenced that were really, really. Are these the same guys you're telling me about that were really knowledgeable about the expanded universe?
Yeah. So the one gal is OG Star Wars, her channel, and she also it's the same for her Twitter account.
Okay.
And then the other one is this guy. His, at least I know his Twitter is Kenobi Stig.
Okay.
Where he just goes by Stig.
And
he's another. He's all his Twitter is great because he's also pretty. He just rails into some of these people that are trying to pass off Disney canon. So
he's the EU expert.
He's another. He definitely he's put himself high up on the tier list for knowledge and information, and I'd say it follows. And then there'd be the channel Open Airlock.
Yeah,
another good one that's very detailed for having a lot of great information on Star Wars expanded universe. So those are definitely like the three. I'm like, yeah, if you're gonna go somewhere, go to those people because they're fantastic for it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely be checking some of those out because, like I said, my knowledge only goes.
I can shoot you some links to them later. So
can you post links? Can you post links down in maybe the comments so people can follow?
Yeah, I could also do that on the.
Let's do that for those
page and share it that way too.
Definitely. So where are we up to? So the train and the train blows up and.
Train blows up. Boba gets back with the Tuskens. They're celebrating, and then, like I said, Lizard goes up his nose. He's tripping balls hard. Otherwise, like
and
I
then
said,
he goes
out to the tree to get the wood for his own Girdafi stick. Apparently,
Girdafi stick. which simple, like, did you catch? And maybe I was watching the. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was watching the episode and then playing Modern Warfare at the same time simultaneously. But I saw that the Sarlacc pit transformed into the tree, and the tree transformed into the Sarlacc pit, and then he broke the Sarlacc pit. They turned into the tree branch, and then the tree branch is what he took back.
I am sure there's some kind of metaphor there. I don't know what it would be.
I wonder if Filoni was smoking spice when he. I don't know, man. It was just very hard to watch, and then
that would not surprise me.
And then, so what are your thoughts? I want to get your thoughts on making they were transforming or making the branch into the actual Gaddafi stick.
I mean, I guess.
What do you think about the process?
We're getting some little extra insight to how they make these things. Last I knew, like I think I said, either during this or before the live stream, I said, last I was aware, they kind of scavenged a lot of materials to maybe piece these things together, but they were just kind of just that. But they were kind of personal to each person, to each Tusken, yes, because that was even in the Kenobi book. Well, like the farmhands and stuff that kind of formed their own militia group and would stop the Tusken raids. They would sometimes pick out and collect some of the certain Gaddafi sticks as their own trophies. So that's kind of what that was. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, it was just kind of their own little way of going, oh, hey, this is how this tribe, gets their weaponry. It's apparently going on a drug trip to discover a tree out in the Tatooine waste, come back with it, and
I've never seen a tree
and then craft
their
weapon.
That's great. I've never seen a tree in the Dune scene before. The Dune sea before.
Not that it's ever been shown.
Yeah, I don't know where that tree came from. It's all in his imagination. But so they're going through and they're making it together, having a real good bonding time making it. And so, what are your thoughts about the dance? If you called it, I don't even know what you call it, like a dance, a ceremonial. I don't know what
It
Like
was
they're by the
it was
fire,
basically
and
like their own little ceremonial dance. It's just that
then
they're part. It was like a weird like kind of combat dance or something too, because they were using the Gaddafis and everything and kind of doing the same movements as when they were fighting each other.
right.
So it was kind of that weird mix. I
I
mean,
just
it was
uh,
it.
and then like the chieftain that like doesn't ever I don't know, like he was even joining in the fun.
Right. But
So
the chieftain has seemed to be kind of hands off,
right,
other than maybe kind of pointing in the direction of a few things, but otherwise it's been very like he sends the I don't know what that the female Tusken is, but it's
yeah,
his second in command.
is that
Concubine?
it?
I don't know.
It's hard to tell who's female and who's male.
And I don't remember if that's a thing, if that's like intentional or not.
Yeah,
I'd have to kind of jump through
do more research
Kenobi
into it.
book, because
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the Kenobi book touches on that.
I'm gonna
But
have to. Yeah, that's gonna be the next book.
sometimes there are certain indicators on who they are, because in the Kenobi book, the one Tusken, oh god, I'm trying to remember the name of the particular one, because it was always the one the guy was kind of his white whale sort of thing.
Right. Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up right now, because I just forgot the book. I just forgot the exact name of that particular Tusken. Shoot. Of course, this isn't going to be easy on me. Ben Kenobi's hut. Let's get to Kenobi. I guess I should have just searched for Kenobi. There we go. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Legends. Oh, shoot. So listen. I'm not going to find this in time. This is...
You're good.
Anyway, so yeah, like I said, there are certain indicators for some Tuskens. A lot of the time, though, they're dressed kind of uniformly.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that they did, I should say, to hide their numbers. Again, hiding their numbers and whatnot, hiding how many there are. It's kind of like, again, like the stormtroopers. You see a bunch of guys charging in the same white armor, even though they're being taken out. You still don't know if you're having any effect.
Right.
So it's that kind of psychological
more so, yeah. Discouraging. Like, I just shot 12 of these.
Yeah, I just shot 10 of them.
Coming.
What the heck?
They haven't been able to hit me once.
Exactly.
I think that's how. And I'm pretty sure that's how it ends, right? By the fire. I don't know if I'm missing any other.
No, like that is the end of the episode, is them doing their little their celebratory dance after he gets inducted into the Tuskens, I guess, because then before
the Hall of Fame or whatever you call it.
Well, prior to that, they got him in the garb, the robes and stuff that they first like.
Why did they put a mask on him? That was like the one piece of thing. Like he
just gets the hoodie. He just gets the
hood.
Hoodie.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Just got the hood. But yeah, I saw that.
Which just kind of made me think, it's like it gives him that idea of, I see why the Jedis like their hoods.
Right.
Otherwise, again, so I mean, for a follow-up episode,
yeah,
it had
better or worse than the first.
It does more, I guess. I don't know if I'd want to say world building for what's going on, but it just kind of fleshes that out. Like I said, the part that I did kind of enjoy was in the beginning when you have those huts coming in, and then you got to see the Wookiee bodyguard, who throws his weight around, and like I said, I thought looked pretty badass, and it was nice to see an evil Wookiee again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just kind of was. It just was a follow up and then it was just more backstory on what happened previously to him to get inducted into the Tuscans, and it was just basically just trying to explain, okay, this is why he was dressed up the way he was in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
When they first showed him off, I think they first showed him off in season 1. And then that was kind of like their one big tease. And then season 2 was when they finally brought him in, and that's when certainly I threw around the joke of Dad Bod Fett when he
yes,
when he threw on his old armor on top of some of the clothing, and it just looked kind of silly,
which was incredibly too small. If somebody was to shoot him, he would be done. There was, yeah,
it was basically oversized armor. Or undersized. I should say undersized
armor.
Yeah, it was undersized armor on it. It looked like, dude, there's way too many extra spots to hit you on.
Yeah, like you need to go see the armorer and get some new gear
plates forged up for you. Yeah,
because that's not good at all.
But you can at least say he must have toned up a bit for Book of Boba, because he looks a little better in the armor now.
Well, yeah.
For this episode, it was mostly in the beginning that I kind of got like I said, I got my chuckles out of, and it was good. The rest of it just kind of was going through the motions, was what it felt like, because we knew nothing serious was going to happen to him.
Yeah.
Other than what we got to see of him getting out of the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
There was nothing else that was really like life-threatening.
Right.
That's going to be coming with the present day stuff, if at all.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah.
Those things released every Saturday, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's something like that.
It's not every Tuesday.
No. I think it was like what, Tuesday or something like that.
Is it every Tuesday? I don't know. Just
Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that.
I was leaving work last night, and I got the notification that a new episode had dropped, chapter 2 or whatever.
Right.
I guess that's what, for not to confuse them, but yeah, we'll just go forward. We'll just say chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I think that's what they're doing. But if it's every Saturday, then it'll work out, because that's when we do our show. So
yep.
I don't know, man. Like for me, like I think I pretty much already gave my rating of it when I said that I was playing Modern Warfare. I was playing Warzone while I was trying to watch this.
You're more preoccupied with that than actually watching.
Well, I mean, I was watching it, but I was trying to multitask. But I was giving it my best to watch it fully. I think I would agree with you. I thought the whole mare scene was a joke. I just didn't really. It didn't flow. And again, like I was say,
when he first walked in, I was thinking and hoping he was gonna just pull out his blaster and shoot dead that freaking receptionist guy. I was like, please, just shoot him now. Please, but
you can't.
This is stupid. We're doing shtick. Knock it off.
Listen, Fractured Filter. We live in an age where we have to be sensitive, and we can't be doing that kind of stuff. He wants to rule with respect and not fear. Yeah, I agree.
So
like this whole thing, and again, I say that I'm trying to come at it from an unbiased standpoint. It's very, very hard, because I just, growing up, you have, it's like they're, I don't know what word I want to use without being totally disrespectful, but it's like the Mandalorian that I grew up with and the Mandalorians that I have read about and all research is not the Mandalorian that is portrayed in these two chapters.
No, I don't know if we talked about it live or not, but it's like what was happened is we got they decided through the Clone Wars series, Filoni decided to neuter the Mandalorians completely, making them this, for some reason, uber peaceful society,
right?
And then they, like I said, I almost thought that they were trying to rebound a little bit by bringing in the Death Watch. But even that, was probably their intention was to have the Death Watch, the evil, aggressive, violent Mandos or whatever that wanted their war or combat. But even then, that didn't amount to much by the end of the Clone Wars. Anyways, it just didn't amount to much.
Well, Death Watch.
Other than they finally kind of destroyed the city and stuff, and they had Darth Maul that helped bring that about. But it just it was still a character assassination for the whole Mandalorian culture and society as a whole. It's just kind of like, guys, you're messing this up completely. You had something that was very beloved by the fan base, and decided, you know what? Fuck the fan base. We know better than them.
This comment which is
always the case,
right? So, I mean, this is either gonna, draw people into to follow the show, or it's gonna, push people away, and either way, it is what it is. But they are systematically. I guess I should put with cancel culture, because the platform might cancel us if we don't say, in my opinion, Disney, Filoni, and I'll even throw Favreau in there because he's equally just as guilty. Kennedy, who there's no excuse, because if anybody knows anything about Kathleen Kennedy's history, she worked hand in hand not only with Spielberg but also Lucas. They're systematically destroying Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're systematically destroying this, and I think the people, the fan base, like people like you, people who stay true to the expanded universe legends, are like the last defense when it comes to this, because the name Star Wars may remain, but they're destroying everything that it once stood for. So
and that's the unfortunate thing, is that for a lot of people, though, it has this kind of, they've hit either the mourning stage or whatever, and they're just kind of tapped out of Star Wars altogether.
It's like, let's take,
because there's very few people now that are trying to stand by and stay true to Star Wars, to what it was. Because you have these people that are just completely mucking it up, and like we learned, Lucas gave a treatment for the sequel trilogy, and they basically tossed it into the waste bin.
Right.
From the sounds of it, it was some pretty wacky ideas, and knowing George, if he was working on it, he would have been probably changing a lot of it as it went along, which that happened with the prequel trilogies too. Things were changed as he went along making them.
But was it wacky?
There were some interesting, I'll say it was some interesting ideas
for sure
that he had for it. It would have been kind of but in the long run, it would have been at least consistent to a story. It would have been a consistent story. That's what it would have been, and that would have been better. That would have been much better, 1,000 times better than what we got, which was an inconsistent mess that was changing hands between two people that were in no way in communication with each other to keep this whole thing on course. And then you just had the spin-offs, which did no help to the established continuity as well.
Right.
So, which those would be their own levels of topics too.
Going forward, yeah. I just wonder, I've heard a lot. You're not the first person, and we've talked about this many times in the past, but I just wonder, like, how crazy was Lucas's ideas, and are they crazy because Disney has dragged his name and his everything that he wanted to do through the mud, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've heard sort of that the whole midichlorian thing, and
that midichlorian, the micro.
That could be an episode.
He had like a whole micro universe idea set up, and apparently he was gonna bring in like Darth Talon, and and that would have been crazy to see. We would have had that, but also there was the either idea or the plan that Luke was gonna get killed off, but this is an older Luke, and probably Lucas might have. I would like to say he would have stayed true to what was established through the books, but I wouldn't have surprised me if he had come up with his own canon for what's gone on. He might have ignored the books entirely, but he might have also honored it too. So that could have been a really great opportunity. But it's all hearsay now. So it's called
people say that Disney bought Lucas film from Lucas. I'm the believer that they put a gun to his head, honestly, and that's the hill that I'll die on. But
it's a nice thought. But
Yeah.
he got his money and went on his vacation,
Right.
which he
But
continues. But there's always been this fun little stuff that's cropped up with
right.
them talking about anything to do with Star Wars. From
It's the minute
even
that he signed the papers over, they're like, you're just
kiss it goodbye, boy.
yeah, you're a memory. Bye. Here's your check.
Basically, the
but again,
pat on the head and send him on his way.
I just wonder,
thanks. We got what we wanted.
Right, $4 billion. Like, could Lucas come back and buy it back, and would Disney sell it because they're just mucking it up? They're mucking it up, and I'm like,
that's been some people's thoughts. Is like, could he
Lucas,
buy it
just
back?
give them,
Considering how much they've lost on these movies at this point.
Oh my goodness! Like I just like and. You know how I feel about, was it the last Star Wars movie with Palpatine and still surviving the fall and I'll be another episode later down the road, but I think something's got to happen. Maybe if this show, we can get Kathleen Kennedy on and respectfully have a dialogue with her, and by respectful I mean eviscerate her. But
I won't hold my breath.
I won't, but. Well, I think that pretty much. Yeah, I don't think we missed any details, and like I said,
I think we gave our rendition on those 2 episodes for sure.
So I think
we're good.
We pretty much agree on the second one. It was watchable as long as you have your Warzone on or whatever game you play.
Have a little distraction on the side. Maybe it might keep.
Yeah,
because otherwise you might be put to sleep.
Yeah. Yes, and by might 100%.
Okay. Right. Well, we've been going for a good 2 solid hours here. I think
it doesn't feel like 2 hours.
No, once we got going, it definitely was like, ooh, here we go.
Yeah. This is the thing for those that are listening or will be listening to this. This is just a taste of what Fractured Filter and I go through on a daily basis when we see each other. Like, we have to, we could literally talk for hours.
Oh yeah, once the ranting gets going,
but we have to break it up in like 30-minute increments because we'll get nothing done.
We get in trouble otherwise.
Yeah, 100%.
So, do you have like do you want to direct anybody to any social media platforms that you're on, or you stay away from that stuff?
Well, in my old age, I tried to stray away from it, but I think
I don't blame you.
I will be. I'll probably be making a Twitter just for kind of the show. So it's not done yet, so I don't have any links or anything to drop in the comments. But when I do get mine up and running,
we'll have them to throw up. Absolutely,
we'll throw them down. And this is I think this has been fun for me. I'm sure fun for you.
Yeah, fun for me as well.
This will be every Saturday night.
Yeah, probably next week. We probably won't launch till about 5:00, but it'll probably, I want to say between 4 and 5:00 that we'll be doing these. So catch us for that. I am on some of the social medias.
Yeah, post your
usually
what
just
are
as
you on?
I'm on, Twitter, Minds, Gab, Getter, you name it. It's I keep myself across the spectrum there, right. But it's all either the Fractured Filter or Fractured Filter that I am on there as. Yeah. So you can that's how anybody can find me.
Definitely, drop some comments where we want to know what you guys think, what you guys want to see, what you would change. Like I said, we're not the most knowledgeable,
but we're here to learn.
But we're here to learn, and we're here to defend, Legends and the EU and. Basically, anything that Disney's trying to get rid of, we're here to try to counter that. So,
absolutely. And with that, I'll say see you next time.
Signing off.